Приветствую всех на нашей конференции. Уже третий год наша конференция открывает перед вами наши двери. Дорогие ребята, сегодня для вас выступает первый мега крутой спикер, которого мы пригласили к вам из Израиля. У этого человека 22 года опыта в тестировании. Представьте, 22 года. Некоторым только есть 22 года, а этот мега крутой спикер будет рассказывать о своем опыте. Ну что, мы приветствуем нашего спикера Lior Katz. Он является CTO и Delivery Manager Matrix Testing. Аплодисменты, пожалуйста. Хочу предупредить, что доклад будет не 45 минут, как обычно, а целый час.
Can I start? Yes. Ah, they can hear me. Wow. נו, תמצא מקום כבר, אלוהים. But please smile, because I see everybody's here like soldiers. Don't be so scared. Everything is okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Lior Katz. In a minute, I'm going to present myself. I'm the CTO of Matrix. Matrix is a company in Israel that we give services for the whole IT world. Our company is something like 9,500 people. I'm managing matrix testing. We are more than 200 employees in matrix testing, and I'm the CTO of Matrix for all that concern with testing. Today, I wanted to talk with you. Gingy, can you? No, not you. Today, I want to talk with you regarding performance testing. I was asked to perform a presentation here, and I selected to present you how to manage a performance testing. In a minute, we start to drill down about performance testing and what is non-functional testing and what is the meaning or the vision of managing a performance testing project. But I think if anybody in this audience is dealing with performance testing, I think it's very, very important to understand the scope of the project and what is the meaning. Who does or who deal with performance testing in this audience? Who deal with performance testing? Great. Please, this conference is for you. Ask me questions, stop me in the middle. If I'm talking nonsense, please raise your hand. Hey man, this is not what we are expected to hear. But and I will try to answer everything that you got. Okay, so let's start. I got this one. Woo. So who am I? I live in Metula. Metula is a small village in Israel, the northest village in Israel, on the border with Lebanon. One of the things that I'm doing, I perform with my guitar and harmonica and flute, and this is my son over there. We're performing together, and I love to travel in Cuba and all kinds of places. This is my dog. And this is one of the presentations I spent 1 year. 1 year ago, I came back from Japan. I worked in Japan, in Tokyo, for 1 year, raising the testing center of excellence in a small company in Japan, in a small insurance company that had got more than 15 million subscribers and 500 testers. So I went to Japan to, and this is the same. It's the same presentation, so okay. Now, regarding the agenda of this presentation, I want at the end of this presentation that each one of you will understand the meaning of non-functional testing. What is the difference between non-functional testing and functional testing? A little bit overview about performance testing, because performance testing, as I can see it, is an umbrella, and under performance testing there are all kinds of testing. and what is the right way to manage, and if the time will let us, we will have an overview of tools that I'm using for performance testing and monitor tools. I didn't tell you, but I'm dealing with performance testing more than 20 years now. And afterwards, we will talk about monitor tools and summary conclusion, and if the time will let us, we will talk about continuous testing, regardless to load testing. But before we start, one of the things in the current world that everybody is talking about continuous testing, and everybody is talking about the rush hours, that everything should be very quickly, and we can't deliver a version or a build or something, we can't deliver it in half year, right? We're delivering. Is there anybody in this audience that working in waterfall? You heard about waterfall? What is waterfall? Hey, come on, don't raise your hand. Everybody's working in Agile, right? Agile, who's working in Agile? Yes, yes, of course. Continuous delivery, continuous deployment, all these things? Yes, of course. And one of the things that lead the technology, one of the newest things that lead the technology is the cloud testing. Now, when everything went to the cloud, people start telling me that there's no use for performance testing anymore. Why? Because all the architecture, all the infrastructure, all the servers are sitting in the cloud, and there's no use for performance testing. Why? Because if there's a problem, Amazon will give me another server. And if there's another problem with my CPU, no problem. Another server, and another server, and another server. And then I start thinking, okay, I need to find myself another job. That's the reason I start to play guitar. I'm just joking. But I need to find myself another job. But the truth is that if you look for things that concern with performance issues, this is one of the things that I found. Last Black Friday, somebody doesn't know what Black Friday is. You got Black Friday in Ukraine as well, right? Yes, of course, of course. All the clothes I'm buying in Black Friday. So J.Crew's website, J.Crew is one of the biggest companies for clothes and things like that. They lost more than $700,000 because their site was not ready for performance in Black Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, the year is 2019, and still companies that sailing over the internet everything are not ready for Black Friday. It's amazing. And from what? From performance perspective. This is amazing. And believe me, their servers are sitting in the cloud in Amazon, and still they got the performance issues. So my conclusion is that I still need to deal with consulting for performance, because this is one of the most critical things. You need to test your application, your website, your system, your mobile system from load perspective. Otherwise, when you will go to production, you're going to have a problem. Ooh. This is one of the most interesting things that I can present you. What happened in 60 minutes, and I will pick only one thing over here. Let's look about Netflix. Okay, Netflix, ladies and gentlemen, in 60 minutes, they got this number of transactions. In 60 seconds, sorry, in 60 seconds, they got more than 2,000 transactions or 2,000 users. It's amazing. Look at WhatsApp. WhatsApp got more than 30 million messages in 1 minute. How do I check it? Is there any place that I can check these things? And you probably understand that this thing must be tested before it goes to production. So let's talk about non-functional testing and what is non-functional. If I compare it to a friend, all this audience are testers, you all testers? Testers? What? Kaha? What? What are you doing?
I'm a tester.
A tester. So what does it say? Raise your hand who is dealing with testing. Testing. Okay, that's great. Now I want to different between Now look, if I'm looking about the testing world, I can spread the testing world to two sections. The first one is functional testing. What is functional testing? We all know. What is functional testing? Black box, input, output, right? I'm doing something and I'm expecting something. This is functional testing, that's it. Everything that you're doing for 10 years in one sentence. You just hit a button, you expect that the button, or you expect that the next screen will be like that. If I'm talking about the other section, is non-functional testing. And non-functional testing concern with few things. What can be non-functional testing? Please help me. The tester, what can be non-functional testing? First thing?
Load testing.
Sorry?
Load testing.
Load testing. Performance, okay, let's call it performance. What else? What did you say? Volume. It's here, my friend. We will talk about volume testing. But what else in non-functional testing, guys?
Localization.
Localization, great. What else? What? Security, visibility. These are all non-functional testing. We are going to talk about this one, the performance, and now I want you to understand that under performance there are types of testing, like, and this is very important to understand, like load testing. In a minute we will see what is load testing, what is stress testing, high availability, volume testing, somebody said. There are many types of performance testing. And if you look at Google or Wikipedia and you will look under performance, what it will say, performance testing is what? What is performance testing? When I'm testing my application with what?
Work in some performance and load and...
But what is performance? What is performance? Sorry? With a lot of users. This is not correct. Because performance, what we call performance, is only with one user that we want to measure what? Response time, great. So this is performance, what we call in Wikipedia, but it's, you know, you're right, but not exactly for performance. When we're talking about load testing, this is what you said. What you said? Load testing is what?
Many users.
Many users. To test my application with many users. And stress testing is other things, and let's talk about the different things related to performance testing. So performance overview. First of all, I want to define the goal of performance testing. The first thing that I want to validate is that my load testing, that the things that I tested is when I compare it to the SLA or KPI. What is SLA? SLA? Service level agreement and KPI. What is KPI? Key performance indicator, right? So I want to compare that when I come to the customer, if she's my customer, I'm telling her, if I hit next button, okay, as a business process, the next screen should appear after XXX time. What is this XXX? Probably 3 seconds, 5 seconds. Okay, this is the SLA. This is my service level agreement with the customer, so I want to validate this. Another thing that I want to verify is system functionality under load. One of the most important things that you need to do whenever you execute load testing is to execute your functional testing and to validate that your system is function under load, meaning all the functionality is working as it should expected under load. Why? Because systems are crazy. Because when you're running load, something is not wrong, is not right, and the load balancer is not working as it should be, and something is going wrong with one module of the application, and suddenly your functionality is not working as it should be when the system is loaded. Of course, I help my DevOps team or infra team or whatever you call it to configure the system, right? I want to tell him, okay, this load balancer is not enough, you need other load balancers. This hardware is not enough, you need more memory, you need more CPU, pay more to Amazon to give us more resources. This is something that I do in order to configure or in order to help to assist to configure the system, and of course to identify performance issues. So performance testing. First of all, I'm checking the response time, and the second thing, I'm checking the ability for large volume of data, and in a minute we will talk about large volume of data. This thing, I will skip this one. I want to talk about load testing. Load testing. If I want to say exactly what is load testing, it consists with number of users, as you said. Okay, it can be 100 users, it can be 1 million users, it can be whatever the SLA that I agree with the customer, okay? The time that we define for load testing, approximately 2 hours. This is the time definition. And why 2 hours? Because 2 hours of executing a scenario of load testing, this is something that can give me a reality, a picture that this is what happened with the system while I'm loading it. 2 hours. 2 hours of what? I can raise a Google analyst, and Google analyst in Monday morning at 12 o'clock will tell me that my system or my site or over the web has approximately 500 concurrent users, and these 500 concurrent users are mainly doing the business process of CRUD, create, read, update, and delete. And this is what I created in my script, in my load testing script, and I'm executing this one with 500 users with the distribution of, for example, if I'm running 500 users, so I will run 200 users that are doing create, 100 users that are doing read, 100 users that are doing update, and 100 users that are doing delete. This is the load testing scenario, and I'm running it, I'm executing this for 2 hours, and this is the result that I'm getting. And of course, I'm checking the response time, I'm checking the resources and everything. What is volume test? Especially in systems today, there's large volume of data, and volume test meaning that I can't test my system for load testing with 1 row in the database, right? I can't, because if my database consists, if I'm working for a government company, and this government company consists in the database something like 3 million rows, I can't test my load testing scenario with 1 row. I can't do it. I can do it, but it doesn't worth anything, right? Because if I will run it with 1 row in the database, or I will run it with 3 million, probably I will get other results. So maximum data inflation and maximum records in my database and number of users is the maximum that I got it from the load testing. Another various of performance testing, or another type of performance testing, is stress testing. Stress testing is very, very important in order to see what? In order to see what? What?
How system will behave under, like, if we have overloaded our system.
Overloaded, that's great, but another word for that, I want to what?
Break.
To?
Break the system.
To break the system, right? I want to break the system. If the system SLA is 500 users, I want to see what will happen with 1,000 users. I want to see what will happen to the system after what? Recovery, right? This is what we call disaster recovery or things like that. We want to understand what will happen to the system. Okay, the system has break. Now, how long it will take to the system to wake up? What will happen to the system after it break up? What number of users will break the system? And sorry?
Will we lose that data or not? We lose data.
Of course, everything. In stress testing, we want to test everything with volume test and everything. Okay, and this one we talk about it. Now, regarding to find the defect, we want to find the defect. Again, this is not something that's related to performance testing. It's related to testing, to every testing process that we're doing. We want to find the defect as early as we can. But, ladies and gentlemen, there's a problem. When we're talking about load testing, what is the problem? What is the problem with this graph over here? What is the problem? We're saying that if we find the defect over here, it will cost us nothing, right? And if we find the defect, of course, in production, it will cost us thousands of dollars, and the customer will want to kill us, and we all understand it, right? But what is the problem with load testing? What is the problem? Sorry?
We do it at the end of before the release.
Can you raise your voice? Because you're right.
We do it before the release.
We do it before the release. Why do we do it before the release? Because we need what? We need a stable environment, right? We can't do load testing on a shaking environment. We can't, just to get the environment from the developer, and he will say, okay, you can go for load testing, and the first scenario that you're executing, all the environment is crashing and everything, and you start going to, and you go back to the developer, and hey, man, this is not working, and this is not working. You can't do it. You need a stable environment in order to test your load testing. And if you got other interfaces for the testing, you need everything ready in order to test your environment for load testing. So this is a problem, and probably we will find all the defects at this stage before production, before we go into production. And this is one of the most, if somebody here is working with load testing, you're probably familiar with the feeling of the pressure from the management. Come on, give us the result, because it's critical for the system from one side, and from the other side, it's here. It's almost in production, and you need to give the result. Oops. Okay. And now for the presentation. All what we spoke till now was just pre, And now I want to talk with you step by step how to manage your load testing project. Now you must understand that a load testing is a project from the beginning till the end with different stages. And if you look at it like that, I guess, because I'm working like that in many projects, I guess that your life will be much easier. So first of all, you need to analyze the system. And I know that you are analyzing the system in manual testing as well and in testing automation as well. But guys, you must analyze the system to sit with or to meet with the R&D manager and to meet with the developers and to meet with the designers and to understand what will be your breakpoints from performance perspective. Meaning that when you're building your load testing project, you must understand what will be the issues or what can be critical from performance perspective. I don't care about functionality, I don't care about it. And this is something that is very, very important, and this is something that related to analyze the system. Test plan. I know you all working in Agile, and I know that everything must be done quickly, and Facebook is giving us 5 versions per day, and everybody is working like, I don't know, in order to deliver and to deliver and to deliver, but there are documents in load testing projects that are critical, like load test plan. In load test plan, in a minute we're going to see it. In load test plan, there are so many things that's so important in order to have a contract between you and the company. And it doesn't matter if you're a tester, if you're a consultant, whatever you're doing, if you are dealing with load testing, you must have a contract between you and the customer. And what is this contract? This contract is saying, this is the architecture, this is the load testing that I'm going to execute, these are the scenarios, this is the scenario configuration from load testing perspective, these are the monitor tools, these are the tools that I'm going to use, these are the roles and responsibilities from this load testing project, these are all the things that I got in my contract, and this is how I'm going to approach to my load testing. And that's it, no questions. Afterwards, when the site will crash and the customer will say, hey, why didn't you execute with 1,000 users? You execute only with 800. Go to the LTP, to the load test plan, and see what we defined together. This is the contract that you're going to have, and this is much. This is more important than in manual testing to have this contract. Of course, define your load testing tools. We will talk about it. Monitor tools, estimation module is something that you can use or not use. Of course, work plan and test environment data. One of the most critical things in load testing project is to prepare your data, because we can have tons of data in order to test our system for load testing. Of course, script development, scenario development, configure the scenario, execute. You don't have to execute 100% of your load expectation. Most of the times, if you're planning to execute with 1,000 users, most of the defects you're going to find with 200 users or 300 users, because defects can be found in an earlier stage, so you don't have to execute at the first stage from 100%. And of course, analyze the test result and recommendation. This is a stage that you're saying, okay, of course that I need to do it. But guys, this is not like manual testing. You need to understand everything. You need to merge between graphs. You need to merge between the response time and the hardware, and to understand exactly what is the defect that you're reporting. Not just, okay, the response time was 30 seconds. I don't care. This is nothing. in order to solve a performance issue for the developer, you know, it's a huge story, it's a huge issue from development perspective. You need to give all the details, and you need to assist the developer to solve the issue. And of course, we run solving issues and summary report and conclusion, we will talk about it, and lesson learned. Lesson learned mean I want to sit down, understand what was the issues in the project that I execute, and what is the things that I'm learning in order to do the next one, and not to have the same issues in the next project. So analyze the system, again, sit with all the concerns with the system, and to understand what can be an issue from performance perspective. LTP, one of the most critical things that you need to prepare before you start with your load testing project. In a minute, I will show you the LTP template. It's over here. If anybody wants to have the template, I will leave my my mail address at the end of the presentation, and you can. And of course, introduction and related document, but performance test scope. What is the scope of the project, and data preparation? What do I need to prepare in order to have my load testing? The approach, the configuration management, the environment architecture, very, very important. If you can have the environment architecture before, and to understand the environment architecture, what is the gap between production environment and the testing environment. I used to present a whole presentation on how to create an environment for load testing. Now guys, this is a project. It's a project. Now we try to do the maximum in order to test our load testing project on production environment. This is the real life, but you know, sometimes the system is in production, so we can't do it. So we need to understand what is the gap between the testing environment and production environment. Because if we got a result of, I don't know, of 10 seconds in testing environment, and in production environment, the same transaction takes 3 seconds or 2 seconds, it means that something is different, right? Maybe the hardware is different, maybe the architecture is different, maybe something is different, so we must check it. Other things, okay, this is load runner because I used to use load runner, but what are the testing tools that I'm using? Okay. And the running scenario, this is one of the most critical things that I need to understand in order to test my load testing. I need to understand what is the timeline, what is the distribution between the business processes. Again, if the business processes create an update and I'm testing 500 users, I need to understand how to distribute them properly. I need to understand how to distribute them between the business process in order to have so-called real environment in load testing, right? So this is one of the most critical things in order to understand the scenario. Now, you know, in many places that I'm coming to consult in load testing, one of the most critical performance testing project that I'm doing right now, and I won't tell you what is it because it's a secret, but it's one of the most critical systems in Israel right now. And you know, when I came there, the expectation is to have more than 200,000 concurrent users. It's a huge number for a system, right? And they told me, okay, I already got result, everything is okay. And I said, can I have the result, please? And they sent me the result. And in the result, I saw that they really raised a scenario for 200,000 users, but they tested it only for 5 minutes. And I told them, 5 minutes? This is what you're testing your system? 5 minutes is nothing. So you must define everything. You must define the scenario, you must define the timeline, you must define everything before you move forward. This is one of the most critical things. And of course, if you got any functionality under load and backup and entry and exit criteria, what are the entry and exit criteria for your load testing project? Okay, you must define it. You must say, okay, if more than 90% of my transaction is more than 3 seconds, then the exit criteria is okay. But you must define it with the customer. And the customer, again, can be either your company or either your customer if you're dealing with consulting. So entry criteria, exit criteria, of course, timetable, defect tracking, and roles and responsibilities. You must understand that load testing project is not something that you're dealing with only one person. Ladies and gentlemen, again, it's not functional testing. This is performance testing, and everybody is involved over here. The customer is involved over here, the hardware management, the database administrator, the system administrator, everybody is involved in this project. And I got tons of projects that we execute at night, and at night all the team is gathering together, and over the phone, of course. And when we're executing, everybody is looking at the system, the developer, the system manager, the database, the DBA, everybody is involved in this project. And of course, measure of success and risk assessment, and these are all the things that this document consists. Selecting the right tool. How long? Sorry? 5 minutes? How much? 20 minutes, great. Okay, 20 minutes is great. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about tools because this is one of the most interesting things. Probably most of you came here to see what this guy from Israel is bringing us from tools perspective. Everybody, the one that dealing with load testing, what are you doing with load testing? JMeter? JMeter? Other tools? Huh? JMeter. Huh? What? Locustio? What is it? You sure it's a load testing tool? Okay. Okay. Other tools? So show me it after the presentation, okay? Other tools? Sorry? Gatling. Oh, great. I supposed to show the Gatling, but there's no time for it. But Gatling is great. Before I start talking about tools, I want all of us to understand what is this load testing tool that we're talking about? There is something in the development world that called, in a minute we will see it, that I want to show you. What was the agenda of creating the load testing tool? First of all, a little bit history. In 1989, a company by the name of Mercury created the first tool for load testing. It was before 2000 bug. I almost said bug alpine, but you don't understand Hebrew. So it's 2000, bug 2000, the 2000 bug, you understand what I'm saying? The year of 2000 bug, you were all babies this year, but there was something that called 2000, when the year 2000 came, everybody was afraid that all the computer system will crash. And 10 years before, a company by the name of Mercury was born, and there was one developer over there that he thought that he can solve, or he started to think about the problem of load on systems, because he saw that there are many systems that are breaking from load perspective, and he started to thought how to build a load testing tool. Now, I want to present you what is the main thing about a load testing tool. If you're going to see something, I don't know. Oh. It's pure. That's great. מה פה? לא צריך. Oh, now I can see something as well. Now first, I want you to see, this is a sample array. Okay, this is Eclipse, Java. Everybody's familiar with Java, right? You're all familiar with Java. And if I develop an array, okay, and I develop an array and I will execute it, I want to execute. You can see that the sample array, if I multiply it by 10, this is what I will get, right? It runs and it prints to the screen 10 times higher. This is load testing? This is load testing? If I will do it on a system, it's a load testing? It's load? It's what? It's performance. Great. But why it's performance and not load? Because it's not what? It's not what? It's not many users, but it's called, there's a word for it. What is it? What is this word? Sorry? Leave it. I can do it. I can do start transaction and end transaction and what is the response time. But it's not what? It's not what? No? Sorry? It's only one, right? It's not parallel, guys. It's not parallel, guys. It's not guys. It's ladies and gentlemen. It's not in parallel. It means that it's only one user that's doing a loop, right? Let's go. And this developer thought, okay, this is not load testing. So, sorry? If I will put loop in the loop, okay, just 1 second. Yes, but it's, you know, it's like that. In a minute we will see it. If I will do a loop like that every user will be different. Still, this is load testing. Let's execute it and see what will I have over here. Where is it? You see, I got several numbers. Okay, this is load testing, right? Because I got several numbers. Each one of them is a user. 20 is a user, 44 is a user. Everybody is doing other things. This is load testing. It's performance. Why? Because it's what? It's not in? It's not in parallel, right? It happened, but it's not right now. All the users are, and you're right. Okay, if 20, okay. But you're right. If I will do a loop in a loop in a loop, it's still the same time, okay? It's not in the same time that this 44 and 20 are doing in the same time something. It's not, right? There is something in development world that called multithreading. And multithreading means that I'm erasing threads. In development world, that I'm executing a thread, and I can execute as many threads as the machine can hold, okay? And every thread is doing something. And this is the solution, guys. If you will look in Google about multithreads, multithreads says that I'm doing the loop, and this loop is something. It's a service. It's a service. If I will open Task Manager, I will see this loop as a service. And this service can be executed in parallel, as we can see over here. You can't see it because it's too fast, right? But these 48 and 49 executed together currently. So this is load testing. And this is the meaning, and it doesn't matter if you're using, what's the name of the tool that you're using? Low cost? Low cost? It doesn't matter if you're using Silk or if you're using, I don't know, the Microsoft tool. In a minute we will see it. Or if you're using JMeter or Load Runner or I don't know. It doesn't matter. All the tools are working on the same concept. The concept is saying that I'm executing threads and I'm executing many threads in parallel. That's it. That's the whole story. This is the meaning of the load testing tools. Now, from here, if we will move forward, this was the idea of creating the first load testing tool. And if I will move forward, I just want to, and there are tons of tools, not only these ones, okay, your tool exists, I'm sure about it, but there are tons of tools for load testing, and I want to talk with you about the concept of load testing right now, because this is one of the things that I want you to understand in this session as well. Today, the development architecture was changed. Why? Because if few years ago, okay, the architecture was changed of the development world. Please pay attention. I know that it's difficult after 40 minutes, but if we used to develop in a concept of MVC, now we're all talking about SPA. What is SPA? SPA, single page application. You heard about it, single page application. What is the meaning of single page application? The meaning of single page application means that all I'm doing when I'm sending a request from the client to the server, I want to retrieve what? I want to retrieve back what? Sorry? Response, yes, but what is this response hold? It holds what? Sorry? Data, right? It holds, I'm sending a request. What kind of request? get, put there, it's REST API or something, right? I'm sending it to where? To the server, to the applications, to the web server and to the application server. It goes to the database, retrieve data, right? And who is doing all the main job? Who is doing all the main job in single page application? Who is doing the heavy job over there? The what? The what? The what? The client side, right? Because it's rendering the request, right? Or the response. It's rendering the request. Okay, I got the data. This is the number of the customer. Now I need to understand what I need to do with it. How do I want to present it? I got the number of number of ID. The number of ID will appear only if you type the right number of phone, only if the right number of phone, and your mail is exact to your ID. Now I will present the ID number because it comes from the database. This is just a sample that I can think of. But again, the client is doing the heavy job over here. Why do I telling you all this story? And this is a single page application. Why do I'm telling you all this story? Because today, in load testing, we got two approaches. The first approach is saying, send a request, get back your response, and measure the time that you sent the request and you receive your response. This is what I'm measuring. The other approach is saying that it's not enough to measure, to send the request, and to receive the response. You need to measure what? You need to measure what? The what? The time for rendering, right? The time that everything appears. And then, in JMeter, for instance, I don't know if you're familiar, but in JMeter you can execute a Selenium script, right? If you're developing in Selenium and you want to see, I don't know, you sent a response, you received something in the client, and you want to measure how long it takes to receive the response, you can measure it by the Selenium script. You can execute the Selenium script via the JMeter. In Load Runner, you can do it with a true client protocol. In other tools, there are other things, but I want you to understand that there's a difference between the two approaches. The first approach is to measure request and response, and the second approach is to measure what the client is doing. Now, I need to finish, but I can send you the. I got 5 more minutes. Okay, great. What else did I wanted to show you? If you're using a Microsoft tool, ladies and gentlemen, please forget about it, because Microsoft in 2019 has announced that also the coded UI, if you heard about it, this is the testing automation, and the load testing tools does not exist anymore in Visual Studio. So be careful and don't use a Microsoft tool, because you're going to have a problem, as I have a problem right now. If we're talking about monitor tools, just a few words about monitor tools and I'm done. Monitor tools can be either very simple monitor tools like PerfMoon. Anybody here doesn't know PerfMoon for Windows? PerfMoon? No? Okay. So PerfMoon is very easy. It's a tool that exists in Windows, of course, in Windows 10. And this is stuff. No, this is PerfMoon, and in PerfMoon, you can monitor everything that happened in all the counters that exist for Windows measurement, okay? And there are other monitor tools. Please be aware that when you're executing your load testing project, you must use monitor tools. I don't have enough time, but I can talk with you 10 hours more about App Dynamics and Dynatrace and other monitor tools. And there are tools for Unix, for mobile and everything. Any questions before I'm done? I will write down my email address if you wanted the presentation that I will send you. If you want any templates that we spoke about, the load test plan and other things, just write me an email and I will get back to you. Any questions? Thank you very much. Thank you. Not many. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech. Ребят, не забывайте, что вы всегда можете подойти пообщаться с спикером, не пределы доклада.